you're still deciding, and they don't know what to think. There's an interesting balance here, and that balance is on you. You are the one in the position of deciding. They're the one who is in the position of reacting to that decision. And when it comes to this balance, the balance exists because you're the one tipping the scale to keep it balanced. Like, it's not on its own. We'll get to that in a sec, because I think that's a really important point when it comes to this type of connection. And what we have here is how it affects your mind, body, and soul. Okay, now as far as the mind is concerned, this is, and these refer to the lunar mansions, Mars and the Sun, right? So we start out in this period of Mars for 2/3 of that period of time, and then moving into the Sun period. So it's a very dominant individual kind of thought process. This is, again, we're talking about your mind. And now that does lend to some very good things. Like, for instance, a lot of creative flow is easy, but it's also difficult for you to maybe navigate a situation where you have to convince people of your ideas, because they're very, although you're passionate, they're very personal, and perhaps it's not always easy for a large group to identify. You kind of are more of a niche person, right? Okay. Now, as far as body's concerned, Mercury and Saturn. Altar is an interesting term. What this is referring to is a couple of fold. First of all, there's an idea of there being sort of a ritual component to your health, right? Like, you are regimented, at least from the degree that you make choices. There's a respect for your body, and that's important to you to maintain that. And also, there is a sanctity. Essentially, you don't want people messing with your system. It works for you. It's not for them. It's for you. And so, you don't want them muddying your altar with their stuff, right? Like, which makes a lot of sense, because it goes back to that sort of individual thinking that you have. Now, as far as spirit is concerned, this is really interesting how this came out. And I want to zoom in on this card, actually, because this is a really great card. It's called the Visitor, and what we're referring here is Venus and Uranus. Now, Visitor is interesting for a few reasons, right? This idea really refers to, it could be a couple of different ways. The first way you can refer to that is emotional flexibility, like this ability to sort of bounce back and forth. But there's also a transience about it, meaning that you're not meant to last. You're temporary. And so what this means karmically is, and this is going to make a lot of sense to you, you're not meant to last in people's lives. There's something about you and a quality that you have that you are meant to be put into a person's life for a reason, accomplish that goal, and then move on to the next. And now that's painful for somebody, because it's very difficult for you to weather losing those relationships. But unfortunately, that's just kind of part of your karmic trajectory, is this idea that you sort of get slotted in where needed, emotionally, okay? But, and I understand that it can be painful at times, but I think it's more important to remember your role here, and the fact that this really is an opportunity for you to make real change in people's lives. And isn't that more important? I mean, at the end of the day, isn't it? And in your case, I believe that you believe that it is, right? And so go with that. It's okay. Just like children, when you become the nurturer, eventually they go. And it gets easier with time as you identify with that appropriately. So in this relationship, what you have to do is do the work if you want to maintain it, because the reality here is that you are the one that's going to have to continue to keep that scale tipped. Like, you're the one in sort of this position of not just power or authority. It's not even that. It's just that's out of necessity. Like, does a mother have authority over their child? Of course, but not just because they're bigger, but because that child needs them. And so you have to consider the implications of that, of course. Okay, so that said, if there's any additional insight that you'd like to look into with your specific situation, just give me a call or a text message to that number, or you can direct message or email, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you further. Okay, so thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.